uh, Connecting. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Byron Coley.
So I'm going to read some poems tonight by Charles Potts from his 1968 book, Little Lord Shiva, which Thurston and I actually reissued around 99 or so. Potts was a guy from, he grew up in Idaho, then drifted down to Salt Lake City, which is not really that far, then out to Berkeley for a long time, and then he's up in Walla Walla, I think still now. Super nice guy. And there's some notes on people who are in this particular poem. The most interesting one that people may know is the Murdoch he refers to as Bruce Murdoch, who was a folk singer in Berkeley, from active in 66 to around 68. Did a pretty interesting album called 33 1/3 Revolutions per Minute. And I think he was on a compilation also. But anyway, this is called Uproar for Andy Clausen. I looked into the toilet and the piss hit the water and the image broke, and I began to feel out of touch with everything and strung out on the profits of American idealism as it feeds back and forth to all brand X Americans. I want your ears without the wax, your undivided attention, and all the money you got. The Bank of America must be completely disregarded to keep you from dying any sooner than you think, because you can't understand why I'm sick and fucking tired of picking up after folk singers for McCarthy. Murdoch gave his pitch, and it was clear off key. No harmony, no message. He wasn't even keeping up with his own time, and split before the poets had all had their say. Clean Jean is a conscious agent for Johnson's schizophrenia, and so many motherfucking poets keep on writing with the right hand and reaching for the Nobel Prize with the other. Is it any wonder the right brain doesn't care what the left hand is doing? There is a rupture coming, wider than the mark. It will not fit. I've got to shut up and let it go. And so Hitchcock, after getting $10,000 from the man for Kayak, sponsors a little contest. $400 for the best poem on the subject of the death of Che Guevara. The theme is madness, style, MLA, form, preferably sonnet, length is your discretion. Scene, South America, produced by 20th Century Fox and directed by the CIA, and it's going to show up on Main Street with all the rest of the popcorn at the main theater, the other end of which is the village jail, from which the local chicken ship deputy Harold Whitney sprang so graciously to let Jerry Wilson volunteer for the draft. And he got killed in Vietnam. And from your selective service hands, Wally Collar, Oval Caskey, Howard Baxter, his blood will not wash off. Does it surprise you, McKay, Idaho, that the thin, nervous endings of the selective service system broke when you reached for me? For I'm a volunteer from the draft. You carry on in triplicate and send the children of the big lost river valley out to die for somebody else's cause. You ain't got one of your own. You twitch, you lie, stranded there, from which I, with eyes on heaven split, and came back for my papers and got brought down by your localism, Ox and Hereford and McCarthy, cowboys and farmers, eyes in the front. They ain't got no heads. They lie between the mountains, north, northwest. I can't go home again. There's a song made light by the rising of the dark side of the moon. It's completely invisible, but it keeps their image up where the tears are never found in God's eyes or on my cheeks. Because I can't cry for dead men, and the living are so few and full of shit. They pumped our eager heads and called it love, your country, and your bank account. And so I bought the apple pie and later named the fountain after naked Andy Clausen, who ran through San Jose and turned everybody on, and 6 people had the lack of balls to send their complaints. And though they got a warrant out for his arrest, you'll never get your hands on him, because you won't believe me when I tell you he's completely exposed all the time. And Marvin Garson prints, "Poets vow noon City Hall forever," and clutters up his center spread with William Blake. How can his schizophrenia go on? The Express Times and Kretsch should call him down for front paging, do-it-yourself sabotage, blow up PG&E. And if he wanted to, he would, without broadcasting mixed intentions, non-organic material, is morally neuter. And though my sympathies are considerably to the left, I'm politically neuter and bored with the rhetorical revolution. The rabbi says the revolution will set the clock ahead 360 degrees, and I'm right back where I started. How many times am I going to have to remove the complete tales of Henry James so we can have a reading at Shakespeare's bookstore and peel layer after layer of history and literature and bullshit off my back? I forgive you everything. God bum trips the earth, headlines all over, the fifth dimensions, and you can't go on imagining you are in control of everything. You're lucky to have got a decent potty training, your clothes on the right side out, and something like a woman to address your deepest fears and hope toward new ribbons for your typewriter and life in perpetuity for the mindless games of everything. String you out of yourself with posters and TV, with books and magazines and dope, because nothing's going to save this place. I used to keep my head free by allotting only one mistake per fascist per lifetime, and I'm coming back around to it, and I wish you life indefinitely, and am going anywhere quiet to die of my self-inflicted wounds. To err is human. To forgive is next to impossible. For anyone who does not love, God is dead, Nietzsche chortled, because I killed him. Makes me happy, and missed out on the good things in life no one can do alone, and though his head worked perfectly, there were no next immediate women in his life, and only the mind could say it. But your body means well. There isn't any such thing as half high, though you can be forever on the way up and down, and times upon my trips I felt I was either at the bottom or lower than the ladder goes, beneath it and above, but those are just no places I have never been, anywhere, but listening to the rising and the falling of the tears you're crying. Life is very sad. There is no God before me. Many are called, a few chosen. I was handpicked to lock off my pants and rocked back and forth inside the skin connections you either got or ain't. And some call it lonely, and some say that's the breaks. And there are those pretending to be with it all the time, and many are, and many more ain't. And I begin to see the reasons for the paramilitary coup d'etat. No matter how far out to lunch you may sound, as if you knew me and called me friend, in music fills the vision of the universe I'm writing and must have, for a while at least, misunderstood its intentions, puncturing the litmus spirit in the middle of the night, stapling somebody else's old poems into history. You're in the room, the floor is rising, and I got my BB back. I love everything, forward, and people most of all wait. What a drag it is, all true, whether I like it or not, but I'm not going to be brought down backwards again. And I begin to see the end of something strung through outer space. And nobody seems to realize how close it is when Seal secedes from Oakland and the return burn begins and the cities crumble into more obvious piles of trash and bad breeding inbred Europe really takes a rollback, and it will be necessary to live in the country to survive. No fast war, no obvious bitter ending. Years of toil lie ahead, and hunger and famine and Holocaust, and only the nimble and the sleek, and yes, the lucky, species one, amoeba to Andy, and everything in between will go on, much as it was before. And those of us who ironed history out, and dug the dirt, and swam through water, and planted the seeds, and made the bread, and loved the bed, put history in our hands to do it well, and do it quick. The abyss is moving forward. Let it take you. Don't be afraid. I told the bell-bottomed, dungareed young spade when he asked me if I'd gone into the other cave. And we went together, nothing but darkness, nothing like a bottomless pit with the sound of water of Point Lobos. And I ran out on the tide pool to see if I could tell where it drained. And they said, "You were lucky." And I said, "No, I could see the wave." And yes, I hurried, and it was slick, but I saw it coming and got out of the way and continued my rap down of the sea lions. Ark, 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 ark. And remembered when I dismissed Henry Miller at Big Sur for reiterating the bullshit about rock is nature's perfect creation, and stood on it as the water washed its impression, and eventually away the shingles come clicking with the sand and foam, and the mountain above Atlantis broke and fell into the river I was trying to cross. Can you feel the earthquake? And the doctor said, I'm afraid it's diabetes. And considering how much I care for sweet things, it was truly a bad dream. And I woke up worried for the sugar and the insulation. I will eat what food I like and sleep with who and whom I please, and life goes on. And I get off a few good rocks before retiring to cry my empty heart with tears for the baby boy as he stood arms around the telephone pole at the Halliday underpass. His bin replaced by the Benton overpass and the Pocatello house coming down when they cut the trees along the Port Neuf to prepare for a flood. And all my old friends have gone on their own wobbling trips, and I couldn't even care for Dawn and Sean and Phil, much less myself. And who am I to worry for the death of everything when I can't even keep all my other selves in place, much less the one that writes and he who reads and him whose chief desire had the day off? And I didn't come to see me yet. I know Pat's busy, and I'll hug her when she does show up, as the whole side of our better half. And I can't call her anymore to the co-op on size 11 feet and pray to move beyond the dial tone. Media is something in between, and I don't want nothing there. We're all my brothers and sisters await in the end of night. It's only the beginning. I sang with arms around Coon and Red Boy, drunk on vodka and not giving a royal shit about the ice on the street and the coach's wrath as he put Coon and I out 2 on 3. And we put down all the other combinations he tried to come up with and derisively referred to us as the Brewery Gang. And we just kept winning because we had our heads together. And he is probably in the mountains right at this moment, Crescent Mining Well, where he gave me a place to stay on Bunker Hill's blast furnace. His dad died doing same, and we became good friends because nobody else could stay out as late or drink as much and drive as fast without getting caught, except the circle. And we got caught by everything, and women and children and jobs and Anglo-Saxon JDs. Don't all vote Republican, as he gave his right hand twice when they fingerprinted us for popping hubcaps. Since he was left-handed, they got no impression. And the right hand does remember what its left hands were doing, as long as it is done with nothing else in mind. I can't get out of this poem, my head yelled to itself, because the end is arbitrary, based on chance, even with the commissure sending directions and messages. There is no death, because you won't be able to remember it. I suppose you remember dying and coming back to life and looking back and fearing the unknown, but you've got to trust it or die before it happens, which is to say, well-dressed cadavers always worry. I do, or used to, but what about? Nothing. I see the red lights on the tower flashing out the window. What is it that goes on when all is quiet and I can't sleep without it? It's winning again. There's nothing I can do except sing all the way through it. It is it. Forward, back, and verb, it knows yes to everything, yes to nothing, yes to you, and yes to me, and yes to no, and yes to maybe, and yes to why, and yes to what, and yes to who, and yes to how, and yes to when, and yes to it, and yes to yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, and. This one's called The Daily News, for Max Scheer, who was the editor of the Berkeley Barb. For William Randolph Scheer, gall and stupidity overrides what sense your Berkeley Barb makes. You've got to meet your deadline, pushing out the news, none of which is fit to print. On Tuesday, I'm not dying, but on Friday, I am. Hear me out. No news is good news. It's past time for truth. I read that stack of shit submitted to your paper, looking very much like poems on the page, but sounding out of touch with anything for real. One poem of 300 worth the printing. Min T's ear rings. With the sound none of your hung studs seeking same can get to or away from your swap-ass ads are dumb. Laid out by all the gory details of your bank account, which next to mine is fat. That will be trimmed away. The revolution is access to the media by those who have nothing to lose and the most to say. You want to do a supplement and be a sugar daddy? I'm not interested in patronizing anyone. And supplement is another way of death. And divorce is what you all went through, stuck up in the plastic vending box between the Chronicle and the Gazette. The opened whore of horror spreads her metal legs and you all fall in line. The stupid, sad, uncertain march of the teletype, the language you all never speak or sing, but only read and shudder. United Press International controls your every move. You die like disenfranchised papermen. Gutenberg is over. The page is blank and wasted. With the words you seek to correct it by, and by, the bay will fill with mud and blood, and they will say in square circles, the Berkeley Barb is alive in Argentina. The myth I call home for most retired and retreaded fascists. Can't think of anything to say. And so report the news of death as it gets closer. And are they putting up another Bank of America card on the street where you live? And precious little credits due to all the empty heads blown down Telegraph or any other godforsaken avenue where they smashed the Jabberwock in one full day of dozing. Bull. The sign across its soon to be no more out front said values, which is to say that Jabberwock had more lasting structure than any institution in this country. Poets used to sing there about the lonely days and nights of not being listened to. The glaciers will rise and overrule all of California, and other minds and thoughts will occupy the dead space along the concentric lines. My sound moves out on the speed of God, and through you no more than by the rattling bones inside your middle ear, I'm aiming at your head, which may be shrunk. Although if I were a Jivaro and packed upon a stick, for neither time nor age is important measured by the calendars, as the month and days and hours go around, but not by me. I'm not for sale and intend to borrow a broom to beat a lot of sacred shit from the so-called revolutionary cows with, and put the ones whose mind cannot be changed out to pasture as you go home to lunch and out to like a light. And I go over to a different friend's house each night and am delighted by the bread they break with me. As the fires start again from Boston to LA, I used to sing the sacred rock and roll. The boat Peter Pan flew out on from Disneyland with Tinkerbell, and almost all the others angels and dwarves applauded Disney's creativity. And plastic was pumped through everybody's tubes to better preserve the loss of vitamins E and K. Shows on your face as well as the face of your rag. Which Dr. Leary are you talking about, love? Welcome to UC Berkeley. Now you don't make much sense. We've heard a lot about you, but not much from you. Ian Fleming is a stupid writer. You repeat a couple of his worst mistakes, and the Barb reprints it all from the seed, 5 times away from the truth, and they call it a gag. I hear it said you want to turn straight people on and people off the beaten brain waves journalese travels on. Say you're hurting, and I agree with both and everything. I don't want you to die in their sleep. That's it.
Beautiful.
Now,
Lovely.
Awesome.
now we have some very wonderful music by the great Joseph Allred from his home in, coming from Brighton or somewhere in Massachusetts. And we wish you all the best. Amen.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
The car loves you.
Amazing.
Yes.
I may have just cursed everybody by playing the wrong melodic mode at the wrong.
Oh no! Oh, beautiful.
Get over.
try as I might, I am not a holy man. Under cover of night, with a mind full of snakes, a sorrowful heart turns to what it knows the best and follows a winding thread down into the ground. And oh, how it grows, the branches spread right away, with the bitterest fruit in the whole of the Milky Way, a friend of the ground. It pulls the sky down, down, down. Now the tree becomes tall, and the fruit falls and bursts with seeds, and saplings shoot up and open their lungs, and the air becomes thin, and branches lined round the sun. Now I know there's only one thing that I can do, and oh, how it burns, a fire as bright as day, whose arms touch the stars and light up the Milky Way. The branches unwound and came falling down, down, down. Let it all die, let it all float away, carried off by the birds to the ends of the Milky Way, and dance to the sound when it comes falling down, down, down.
Wow.
Wow.
Devastating.
That was astounding.
Amazing, Jessica. Thank you.
Incredible.
Devastating.
It's a tune in Robbie Basho called Tasahara tuning. For anybody keeping up at home. And that last song was about karma. And it's something I wrote when I was in Nepal a few years ago. How long have I been playing? I'm going to try one more thing, I think.
Sounds good.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, as long as you want to. Do whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I made the dog bark.
Amazing, Joseph.
What a gift.
Joseph, thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joey.
You want to play one more, or are you done? How you feeling?
More.
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 I'll leave some info on the chat, so if people want to send a tip or buy something, they can. And how you feeling? You feel like one more? Or you're done?
And play something else. I have too many instruments.
Yep, it's a problem.
Sitting
Well,
around.
whatever you feel like. If you want to go grab your instrument, you can. There's no rush.
Yeah.
Do a glockenspiel solo.
Oh, yeah.
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 I can't.
Do it, Moses.
Do this one. And am I born to die, to lay this body down, and as my trembling spirits fly into a world unknown, a land of deeper shade, unpierced by human thought, the dreary region of the dead, where all things are forgot. Soon as from earth I go, what will become of me? Eternal happiness, must then my fortune be. Waked by the trumpet sound, I from my grave shall rise and see the judge with glory crowned, and see the flaming skies.
Woo!
Wow.
That's lovely.
Thank you, man.
Good show.
Thank you, Joseph.
Joseph. That was incredible. That was absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
What a
Thank you
gift.
so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah.
Don't forget to tip your artist or help them out and buy a record online or buy a digital or do whatever you can. And yeah, I think it's still a mystery artist next week, so it's gonna be a mystery who's playing. And yeah, thank you so much, Joseph.
Eugene.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Chadbourne's on your label, right? He's a
Wow.
Eugene Chadbourne.
Yes, he is.
Get him. Get him.
Yeah, we could get Eugene. We'll ask Eugene. So anyway, yeah, if anyone has suggestions, always open for that. And everyone, thank you for coming.
All right.
And everyone be well, be safe.
Thank you
And
again, Joseph. Thank
Yeah,
you,
thank
Ted.
you
Good
so
night,
much.
everybody.
Thank you, Joseph.
Bye.
Bye.
be well.
Bye.